Good morning, students. Paul here again to chat about Module 6, Business Intelligence Project. So first we'll start with some technological considerations that we should be making when working on a BI project. So, last class we talked about you need to assess your current state. You need to determine what is your overall strategy from a company perspective. And do you have the necessary BI architecture in place and or what needs to change with your underlying physical and logical systems to support a BI solution. So, moving on to technical considerations. Again, your infrastructure. What hardware do you have in place? And what is your upgrade plan? If you need to upgrade, including potentially some vendor selection in that space. You recall in class we've talked about Oracle and IBM and some other hardware suppliers. And can your infrastructure, in its current iteration, handle the bandwidth you may need to be able to provide data in real time, and there would not be any delay or latency in the delivery of information into the BI software, as well as if you have any remote offices or any satellite offices that are not in head office, will they be able to use this software, and are they connected to the network? As well, you want to make sure your back-end servers, whoever you go with, are powerful enough to provide data in a timely manner. And increasingly, another consideration is visibility, or the access to view information now on things like a smartphone, not just desktop and laptop computers, particularly if you have salespeople in the field and they just want to be able to view things on their mobile device. Clearly, security is a consideration. Do you have the right security protocols? Will your data be encrypted? Using things like maybe blockchain technology. And are you going to store things locally on a physical server, or are you going to be out on the cloud? So these are all considerations that you have to think about. Is your current database management system sufficient, or do you need to change that out? Compatibility issues. Again, I talked about this last class. Historically, there were usually compatibility issues between a database management system that was provided by one supplier, like an IBM, and the front-end software that's obviously a Salesforce.com. Tableau is a Salesforce.com product, and would the two be compatible? Over the years, hardware and software providers have come together to ensure that their tools are more compatible, but you may have to do some massaging and some interfacing using some types of middleware or APIs. Lastly, the end user interface. Which applications are currently in use, and will they need to be integrated with your BI solution? For example, ERP systems or TPS systems, transactional processing systems, or point of sale systems. Does your company already have some type of pseudo BI applications, and what are your plans to harvest that system or disconnect it? So these are all different considerations that we need to have. So There's a lot of key words here: decentralized versus centralized, right? We've talked about that. Unstructured data versus structured data. We should know about that. The difference between data lakes, data marts, data warehouses. Supervised versus unsupervised machine learning. We talked about that. So again, I would review a lot of what we've covered so far this semester. When, as a BA, you're working on a BA initiative or a BI project, here are some of your accountabilities. As a BA, you'll typically be responsible for these deliverables. You need to determine business process coverage. How will the information, the output, be used? And ideally to generate better business decisions. You'll hear me say data-driven business decisions. On the back end, you will be working on a logical data model and setting up the data dictionary and doing quality assessments and putting together the ETL process, the extract, transform, and load process. So these will be part of your BA requirements and specifications. And we covered a lot of this stuff in week 3, so you could go back to week 3 and look at that. At a high level, you're going to design how the software solution supports the requirements you've collected for each of the different functional areas. From the Babcock perspective, again, you're going to need to scope out the architecture and ensure, again, your data and your enterprise view of the company is very convergent. So a business analyst will be responsible for the analysis and specification of business requirements for all these components and collaborate with systems and technical specialists to assess the solution. Now, BI project requirements. So as a BA, working on a BI project, you will need to identify and document data sources. We've talked about that ad nauseum. And bridge any gaps that exist between the future state or the current state and the future state, because there may be some gaps in terms of the data requirements you need. See if you can bridge that gap by finding those data sources that your future state may require. And you'll also need to understand any limitations that the data may have, either the reliability or the frequency of collection. Maybe some of your data is only available on a monthly basis. So how do you handle that? Or it's available every couple weeks, or it takes time to transform and load. So you're going to need to figure out all of that. And you'll also need to understand how the data is stored and how people will use the data in the future. In week 4, we talked about functionality. Obviously, you're going to need to gather, do some document analysis, and use some other BA elicitation techniques like interviewing people or job shadowing them to gather information on what reports people currently use in the current, in their current work environment, with or without any, some type of BI solution. And what data do they use to support their decision-making process? And as well, what are some of the current canned reports that people are using, and are you going to replicate those? Are you going to enhance those, build on those reports in your new BI space? Because some are very standard reports, and that could be a quick win for you. We're going to replicate some of these standard company or industry-wide reports, when we go from our old BI solution to our new BI solution. As a BA, you're also going to do a lot of training. Okay, that comes from experience. I had to train staff on the pros of the new tool and how to use it effectively. And you may need to put in a change management or training plan, including convincing users, stakeholders of the merits of this new tool. That sometimes you're a bit of a politician and you need to do that. This is a very iterative process. You're going to do things over and over again as your adoption rate to the new solution increases. It doesn't happen overnight. People, for whatever reason, aren't going to get on board, get on the back of your wagon right away. You're going to build things, and you're going to build incrementally. As well, you may add new layers of detail. You may start with a select number of reports that are standardized, and then you're going to build out. You're going to determine some new data or new reports that could be valuable to staff, and you're going to set that up. Again, we've talked about data. Right? Availability, where does it reside, quality, time and effort to transform, any changes that need to happen in architecture, security, right? I've always talked about the CRUD acronym: create, read, update, and delete. Who will have, create and append ability? Who's going to have just read access? Things like that. Okay. As we continue here, here's an example of some business analytics requirements. Your requirement may be, a predefined report or a dashboard, an ad hoc. Is there a intermediary model? So are we going to add additional functionality, like the ability to create a forecast? For example, Tableau allows you to generate forecasts on time series data, and the way that works is you need more time. You need more time series data. More observations give you a more robust forecast. The ability to drill up and drill down. We've talked about that, and that's important. Or the ability to aggregate data or summarize it. And again, the frequency of the data being updated. Ideally, if data could be updated daily, but some companies can't update their data daily. At 3M, a lot of our data that we put in our BI reporting was daily, but some of it couldn't be daily. It was more weekly. And a lot of this stuff ran like at 2 a.m. in the morning when other, the bandwidth was there to, allow for data transformation and loading into data warehouses. Okay. The next slide, I want you to try this. Read the instructions about the Smart Coffee Company and see if you can answer these questions. So read the scenario and try to do the activity. Okay? Next, as a BA, you're going to validate and prioritize functional and non-functional requirements and data requirements. We've talked about the Moscow principle in the past, right? Not the city in Russia. Yes, I know I always use that line. But requirements that are must-haves or base requirements that if we don't have them, the software application does not work. And then we have the should-haves, the could-haves, and the won't-haves. So we must prioritize our requirements and ensure that the must-haves, which are critical to the success of the project, are are implemented, are executed, are built into the app.